So we have user-defined, system-defined schema, and SLT-derived schema. So the user-defined schema is a schema which you create by your own. Like this is not system-generated, like the one which we have with our own name is the system-generated schema. But if you want to create a new schema, you can always do it. How do you do it? You select the system that you want. Okay, you select the system, you select the console, and you execute the query called create space schema create space schema, and you can give any name that you desire. So I'll put something called okay, and I'm going to create a new schema. So I'll click on execute. Once I click on execute, let's see, the new schema is created. So what is that? Let me see what is the error. There is a schema called TMP1 already. So with the name TMP1, let me try to give a new name. The TMP1, I put TMP1 try. It allowed me to create a schema called TMP. Once you create any new schema, always perform a refresh so that the new schema gets reflected in your profile. So this is the new schema, and you have all the structure that you need in the schema. So you can create the objects that you design. So earlier we failed to create the table, right? So I was able to create the table now. So let us create a sample table and let me show you how I do it. Just right click on it, select new table, the table name, something called TMP again. See your wish. I'll give TMP 9099. You can give whatever name you want. Give some random value here, something of your choice, and you just click on explain. So that's how you create the table. So once your table is created, always remember to refresh. Until and unless you refresh this, you're not going to see any data here, even though you create some data in it. Now this is your table. This is the table that we have created. So you can see all the information that you need in this table. If you want to see only the content, if you don't want to make any changes in the table, you can always choose this. It will show you the content of the table, like what value does it have, all that. So we have only one entry in it, which is VLU. So now it is showing you the VLU. As I said, for each and every click that we perform here, that we do it manually, but in the background, you'll be able to see that we are executing a query. And which user ID, which standard user ID is responsible for this? If you can go through your notes, which I have given to you yesterday. So underscore sys underscore SQL underscore analyzer is a standard user ID, which is responsible for any query execution in the system. So whatever query you're executing, the owner of this query who is executing it in the background is this user ID, system user ID, sys underscore SQL underscore analyzer. Okay. That is what is happening here. So this is your, so let me show you this. Sorry. So that is your user-defined schema. Any schema that you create on your own, or any schema that is defined by the user, by a standard database user, is user-defined schema. So the system-defined schema is a schema which is getting created at the time by default with the same name as your user ID is your system-defined schema. That is one of the example, and all the standard schemas that come by default. So these are all the standard schema that you're able to see. This AFL, this BI, this BIC. All these schemas are what? All the schemas come under system-defined schema. Like you're not creating these schemas are coming by default. Whenever a user ID is created, these schemas are coming by default in your catalog section. So you will only have you are going to only have unless because this user ID has wider access, the system user ID has wider access, so it will let me create any data in this standard, what do you say, standard schemas. But usually what happens in the real time scenario, when you create a user ID and you have your own user ID, you are only allowed to view the data under these standard schemas. You will not be able to create any new data under these schemas. Like let us say if you want to create any view under this, so you can also see that there are already many standard views here. So if you want to create any new view or something, so this is the view that they have created under the view section. This is the standard view, that is they have created some BIMC, all authorized cubes. So this is the data that they have under this. So if you want to create some new view under the standard schema, like, it is not allowed. You can only view the data which is already there in the standard views, unless and until you have elevated access like me. Like I'm using the system user ID now, which is the ultimate user ID which is provided by SAP. So now I'm able to do it. I'll show you those scenarios as well. Okay, don't worry. When I create a test user ID and I'll log in with the test user ID, you'll come to understand like what I'm saying. Okay, don't worry about that. So that is your standard schema. Okay, let's quickly see the third point here. So these are all the standard schemas, as I said, as I showed you now in the system. So these each and every schema stores different types of data here. Sys underscore BI stores metadata to create of all the created column views. And BIC usually stores the data of the HANA models which are activated in the system. And repo is a very main schema actually. Repo is a very important schema. So in repo, you have all the objects under this repository. As I said earlier, so suppose if Emmanuel is leaving the company, okay, he has all these objects created under his schema. So let us say we are deleting his ID. So what happens? We are going to lose the data. So to avoid this to happen, sys underscore repo is the responsible repository to store all your data. Okay. And which user ID stores this data in the sys underscore repo? We have the system user ID called sys underscore repo. With the same naming convention, we have another user ID, sys underscore repo. If you remember, as part of our discussion, we have seen that sys underscore repo is the internal database user for what? For HANA repository activities, for the standard HANA repository activities. What this user ID does is that, so whenever you create, suppose Emmanuel is creating some views under his schema, okay, some objects under his schema. So what this user ID, standard user ID will do, the standard user ID will replicate the same data which Emmanuel is creating, and it will save this data in this standard schema, which is sys underscore repo. So this is very important. Okay. So that is why the standard user IDs and standard schema, if you're able to understand, so you can confidently say like, okay, we do not lose the data, and all the schemas, all the standard schemas, or all the standard data which is created under the schema, standard user schema, is preserved under sys underscore repo repository. So this is where you save all the object data that is created in your system. And the user ID which is responsible to save all the data in this repository is your sys underscore repo. This user ID is responsible for that. So always make sure that all the standard user IDs which I am listing here are active, except for the system user ID. It depends upon your organization again. If it is going to ask you to keep it activated, keep it activated. So it all depends on the compliance here. So every organization has its own compliance process and their methodology. Okay, based on that, you can use the system user ID or not. It's up to you basically. But all the user IDs and also ignore this user ID. This is only used at the time of installation, and you'll not see this user ID under the user tab. Okay, and all these user IDs, sysafl, EPM, or repo, or statistics, and SQL analyzer, all these user IDs are very important. All these 5 user IDs are important. Make sure that you never deactivate these user IDs in your system. Because if suppose you are deactivating sys underscore repo, consider that you're losing all the backup that you need. If a user exits the organization, so what happens? You lose all the data that is under him. So it is not automatically saved under the standard repository directory. So you'll not be able to see any data under sys underscore repo. So be very careful. And okay, same goes to sys underscore statistics. Sys underscore statistics user ID does the same. Like it takes all the audit log that we have enabled and it is going to save under the schema sys underscore statistics schema. Simple. Sys underscore access also does the same thing. Access is nothing but what all third party applications are connected to your HANA database. What it does, it saves all the data which is coming from this this third party applications into the schema. And the responsible user ID is also similar to it. Sys underscore X. There is also another user ID, sys underscore access, which does it actually. I'll show it to you. No worries. So as I said, these are your standard schemas, right? Where is this sys repo? Okay. Under the sys repo, so let us say you're creating some views under your own schema. So all these schemas will automatically get replicated here. And also for this to happen, you have to keep this user ID and you have to always keep this user ID intact. You should never deactivate this user ID or should never test this user ID. And basically you'll have view access to all the all the objects that are under this sys underscore repo by default, with the public role which is assigned to you while creating the user ID. Okay, you're not going to save the schema names itself under sys underscore repo. You'll not have the you'll not be able to see any schema names here. You'll only able to see the objects which are created under that schema under sys underscore repo. Okay, so yeah, this SLT derived schema, I'll come to it. Okay, bit later in the next topics. It's not the topic that we are going to discuss anytime soon because to discuss this topic, I have to explain you the application server, which is access engine that we have in HANA DB. Then I'm going to explain you about this SLT derived schema. Then you'll be able to understand because I'll not be able to show it to you right away. So yeah, before going to this privileges and all, let me give you something. Explain you about. Okay, let me see what I've added here. Yeah, so object privileges, you have seen it yesterday. You have seen me assigning all object privileges. So what object privileges did I assign yesterday to best user ID? I've assigned the object privileges. Object privileges is nothing but you're going to assign the schemas that you have created. So if you want to give some schema access to other user, you can always assign the object privileges in that user ID. Let me show you that. So in the object privileges, yesterday I was able to show you like I was assigning execute or select statements in it. So what does it mean? So this is where I elaborated a few privileges. So I'm going to show you what access we are going to give. Okay, we are into the system user ID here. Let me. Okay, all these user IDs. Yesterday, what we have done, we have created. So okay, let's create a new user ID instead. So how do you create users? You create users by doing a right click here, creating a new user. Only difference between user and restricted user is that you're going to check and uncheck the JDBC ODBC server access. And this new restricted user is for third-party users who are not going to access HANA DB. Let me create a test user ID. 299. See what happens if I select this option is that so after I do my first login as this test user ID, it will ask me to change the initial password to a new password. So that is what you do in your ideal scenario. Okay, and in the real time scenario, you never select this option as no whenever you're giving a new password, because I shouldn't know your password as an admin. So once you log in, the first thing that you have to do is that you have to reset this password to a new password. Okay, so that no one knows your password, because this is all crucial data that you are dealing with. Okay, let us say if you're deleting some model or something, or some object view that you have created in the system, you never know. Like, there can always be an outage here. So don't take any chances with this user ID, because this HANA DB user ID is very HANA DB access is very restricted, and it is very critical in an organization. Okay. Okay, fine. So I have given the initial password here. Okay. So I'm going to save this user ID. I'm going to execute this user ID. And what role is assigned here? By default, I did not do it, right?
Public.
The system itself is doing it. With the help of which user ID? Sys user ID. Sys user ID is your standard user ID, which assigns public role whenever you are creating a new user. Okay. Yeah. So please don't forget this. So this is the basic thing. Okay. So once we are going into the roles concept, we are going to assign more roles here. Okay, by creating the custom roles and by assigning the required privileges to those custom roles. We are going to create different users. So what kind of users are there in our system? In HANA-DB system, administrator users and come on guys, administrator users and system users. Okay, two kinds of users are there. So under administrative users, we are administrator users, modelers will be there, developers will be there. Three kinds of users will be there. So we are going to create different roles. One for security admin, one for basis admin, okay, one for modeler, one for developer. We are going to create 4 or 5 roles, which will complete our role management concept. But before you dive into the role concept, you should understand all these privileges. What is a system privilege? What is an object privilege? Object privileges we already covered. System privileges I'm going to show it to you now. So system privilege we have object privileges, analytical privileges, package privileges, application privileges. So if you need to understand all these privileges in order to be ready to create any roles in the system. Okay. So this is one way of creating a user ID, guys. Okay. There is another way that you can create a user ID. Show it to you now. Select the system, open the SQL console. Is it open? Okay. Let me create a user here. Create user. Hello. Okay. Password. Password should always be in double quotes. Okay. You have to give the initial password in double quotes. Okay. Yeah. So you can give whatever password you want. Okay. Once you're done with your query, so this is the query statement, guys. This is the SQL query statement, which allows you to create users. But in ideal scenario, we never use this query. But let us say if you have to create 100 users at a time, 100 users at a time. Let us say if you have to assign 100, like the same privilege to 100 users, you cannot be creating these users manually, right? You'll simply enter the SQL statement. Not even that. You copy this SQL statement into the WordPad, and if you are good with the scripting, I think so. You might have already like used the scripting in the Word document. You can use this and you can create an Excel document as an input document for your Word document. And you can basically use that script to create all the user IDs at once. So I'm going to show it to you if you're not familiar with this thing also, it's not an issue. I'm going to show you how we can create mass users at a time by creating multiple queries. So these two fields will be our input fields, which we are going to get data from the Excel. Okay, and we are going to generate multiple lines, multiple SQL lines for multiple users, and we are going to create users, any number of users that you like. At the same time, for privileges also, we are going to do the same thing. Let us say if you want to assign the same privilege to user, or for that instance, you can assign multiple privileges to different kinds of privileges to different users at a time using a script. That is easy. Don't worry. I'm going to show it to you. Okay, in the coming sessions. So let me explain this. Okay, so the user ID is created with the password speed 12345 6. If you want to log in as that user, you can do it always. So let me try to log in. Remember, that's hello and speed 12345 6. Okay. So what are we going to do? Add system with different user. So what is the user ID? User is hello. Okay. So if you click on store username and password, it is not going to ask you the user ID and password once again. Okay. So whenever you open your workspace, you'll be automatically logged into the system that you need. I'm going to click on finish. I'm able to log in as user hello. So right now I'll not be able to have anything except for the basic view. Always have view access. Okay. I'll always have view access for all the standard data that is there in the system. Because of which role? Because of the public role. This is the standard role which comes by default in the system. Okay. And public roles hold all the data that is there in your system. Okay. You'll be able to view all the data once this public role is assigned by the system. So that is how I created a user ID, a test user ID. Save this. Close this. Okay, by default, but earlier you saw that you were able to access, you were able to see all the content and everything. But in order to see the content, the standard content even, or your own content, like your own content, what you need to do, you need to have a particular privilege assigned to you, which I'll show you, which is repository underscore crest. SAP itself is asking that, okay, you need this repository in order to do anything. Yeah. Let me assign that repository. Sorry, I had to take a break. Okay. Okay. You can assign this privilege, then only you will be able to see the content here. So how do you assign this repository underscore repo? How we have assigned this access so far? So you can go to user. So I'll again go as a system user here. The system user ID has the privilege to assign the access. Hello cannot assign privileges on his own. What I'm going to do, I'm going to search for the user ID hello. Where is hello? Okay. Again, you have to refresh in order to get the content here. Refresh. Okay. Now you should be able to see the user ID hello. Okay. I'm able to see hello. Okay. Hello has no privileges assigned to him. So it's obvious that he's not able to see any data in the content folder. But okay, let me show you. Okay. repository underscore rest is the standard privilege that you need in order to see the data of content. Okay, repository underscore rest. Okay, along with it, I'm going to give only execute access here. I'm not going to give any other access. Okay, I'm only going to give execute. Okay, once you are able to perform any action successfully, you'll be able to see that the user is successfully changed. Okay, or else you're going to see the error message as well. Always remember that if you're going to see the error message, something has failed, you have to analyze the issue. Okay, here see it is a different thing. You're not now you have not assigned a schema here. Instead, you have assigned the privilege that is needed to access your content folder. If a new user wants to access his content folder, he has to have repository underscore rest with execute access. Then and only then he'll be able to see any data under your content folder. And always remember to give only execute access for the repository underscore rest privilege. And who is the owner for this? It's the system user ID, which is the owner for this repository. Now see if I'm able to see this. I'm going as a user hello again. Right, right. Okay. Just refresh it. Okay. Once whenever you get new privileges to you, just refresh your user ID. See. There is no content available, so that's why you're not able to see anything here. But if I assign some packages here to this user ID, so now he doesn't have any packages. I can create any new package. To view any new packages also of your own, you have to have this repository underscore rest. Otherwise, you'll not be able to see. So let us see. Okay, and in best there are some packages already. I've created this dummy packages earlier to show it to you. Okay, so I have created some package under system. Let me show you that package. Sorry, where do you access package? You access package under content. Okay. So what I did, I created a temporary package here called TMP90, and I've created an attribute view. We don't get confused. Okay, we are not going to create any attribute views in the system. Usually, I created just an attribute view with no data here. But I'm going to show you a sample attribute view. I'm going to create some sample views so that I can show you how I restrict this access and all in the roles. Okay, in the coming session. So for that, I've created a temporary view. Like I've right clicked on the package. I went to new and I selected attribute view and I just clicked on execute to save this temporary view in this. Okay, nothing else. So see so there are two kinds of objects here. One is your catalog objects. Catalog objects are called uh, static objects. These are all static objects. Okay, you cannot import these catalog objects from one system to another system. Okay, from development environment to quality environment, you cannot import this, or you cannot transport these objects. But whatever views that you are able to create in a package, let me show you. So your package is in content folder. So let us say if whatever views you can able to see here, like attribute view, analytic view, calculation view, analytic privilege, or procedure, or a decision table. So whatever data or whatever objects that you are creating under your package in the content folder, you will be able to transport this from one system to another system. Okay, these are called runtime objects. Okay, what are these called? These are called runtime objects. Basically, what you can do with the runtime objects, you'll be able to transport these objects from one system to another system. So if you want to transport the data, if you want to transport your views, you have to create the data under your packages. Okay. I'm going to discuss about it. Let me show you. Okay. These are the different kinds of privileges that we assign. Okay. When we are assigning the object privilege. Just now we have assigned a privilege here to hello. Okay. Yeah, hello is here. So we have assigned a privilege here. While assigning, we are assigning some access here. And all the privileges that you see for this thing, okay, has a significance of its own. Okay, so what significance does it have? Create any. So you can go through the content. Okay, it basically gives the access. It's very simple. It will give access to create all kinds of objects, tables, views, or sequence. for the user, okay, in that particular schema. So while assigning that access, if you want the user to be able to create any kinds of tables, views, or sequences under that particular schema, you can give this. You can check this privilege while giving it. Okay, this is a different thing, but while assigning the schema, let us say you'll get all these options here. So this is your own schema. That's why you're not able to see this. But yeah, if let us say if you're assigning some other schema, some third party schema, you'll be getting all these options. Create any is there. So by giving create any access, you'll be allowed to create any data under that schema. Okay, like tables, views, or anything that you want, anything that you decide. Okay, you basically get it from there. All privileges is nothing but selecting all privileges. Then check all the privileges that are available for that particular schema, which is going to give unlimited access to that user for that particular schema. It's up to you again. It's up to you and it's up to the requirement that you give this access to the user. Usually, we will not give all privileges to the user, okay? Because you'll be able to do anything with your schema. You have to always be the owner of the schema. If you're giving all privileges, then like it's called a shared owner thing. Like you're not the only owner of that schema, although you have created that schema, you have created the table views and all that. But always remember, if you're giving all privileges to the user, he'll be able to do anything similar to you in the schema. Okay,
Understood.
be careful for that.
Understood.
Yeah. And coming to drop and alter, if suppose if I've created any view here, I've created some table here in let me show you this. What table did I create under system? I created or under best I've created some table here. Let me expand that schema and show you that what happened. Teaching children has encoded the element developer. Okay, I don't know what happened. Let me refresh this. Wait, something wrong with the system. Or there is some issue with the H best user ID. Okay, remove this. Okay, I removed it. Let us use hello instead. Okay, let me create a table for you quickly. I'll go to catalog. Where is hello schema? I'm creating a table view. Sorry, create table here. Let us see if it is going to accept this one. Okay, so let's create this table under the schema. Okay, just refresh this and you'll be able to see the new table that we created. Okay, this is the table that we have created. Okay, so let us say we have created a table. So this we'll be able to drop it anyways because we are owner of the schema. Hello is our own schema. So we will be able to drop it. Dropping is nothing but deleting. We'll be able to delete this. Okay, it'll give you these options. Restrict. If dependent objects exist, no objects will be deleted. Let us say you have created some views using this table, and it is simply saying that okay, only this table will be deleted, that but the view will be intact, and the other tables which are added to that views will be intact. Okay. If you select cascade, what is going to happen? All the objects, all the objects that are linked to this table object are also deleted along with it. So it is giving you a warning message here. The object and all its dependent objects will be deleted if you are going to select this option. Okay, so always be careful when you do something. Okay, when you are deleting any view, not you, sorry, the modelers or developers will take care of this. Okay, it's not our headache because we are only seeing this for our session. Okay, we are not going to delete it in the real time as a security admin. Okay, excuse me. Okay, you can either delete the object or you can delete all rows which are there in it. Okay, I'm going to delete object here, catalog object here. So I'm going to select cascade so that all dependencies are removed. Okay, I'll click on delete. So I'll be able to drop it. Okay, and now it is dropped. You can refresh and see. Now it just dropped. Okay, let us say, okay, this is the table which we have created. Okay, and we have dropped it also. Let us go and see. Let us say this is my system user ID, and let me create a new table here under catalog. Where is my schema? My schema is obviously this system schema. Okay, in system schema, let me create a table. There are many tables, I think. Achha, okay, I have already created this table. Great. This table is already there. Okay, TMP table is already there. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to assign the system schema access to my user hello. Okay, because I'm the owner. I'm going to go to user section. In user section, I'm going to select hello. In hello, what we have, we will go to what privilege do I need to add now? I should add system schema here. System schema, which because I have created the table under what schema? System schema. So I'll select system schema here. System. Let's see if the system schema is coming or not. Taking some time to search. Okay. System schema should come directly, but okay. Since we have everything under system schema, so it will take time. Okay, it's fine. It's hard to search that way. Let's do one thing. Let's create a new schema under the system user ID. Okay, which will be what? What will you call it? Or call the schema if you create it on your own? It's called user-defined schema, basically. Okay. Okay, you can open SQL console. This under this catalog, you can create the schema. How do you create schema? You'll use query to create a schema. Create schema. Okay, just once you are done with this, you can execute. Okay, what happened? It's throwing some error. Could not execute time. Incorrect screen. Acha, okay. There is some issue. Okay, here the spelling is wrong, so it is not allowing us to do this. Let's correct it and let's execute. We'll be able to create the schema successfully. So statement is executed successfully and the schema is created. So to see the schema, you have to refresh. Select refresh and you'll be able to see the schema TEMPP. Okay, under TEMPP, I'm going to create a new table. New table. Let me close all the sessions here. Save. Okay, so what we'll have it here, we'll have something we call TMPP. Okay, and that is the value that we have here. And let us name the table as well. I'll name it as TMPP, something like that. Okay. I'll click on. So this is the table which we have created under TEMPP schema. This is a user-defined schema which is created by the system user ID. Okay. So what I'm going to do, let me close this thing. It's already over. So I'll go under user folder now. I'll go under hello. Now it will be easy for me to identify that particular schema to add it. Okay. So this is the schema section that we have. I'll select. And what do we have here? TM. Am I wrong? No, it's correct. Okay, but it is showing me the table instead. But I've given this thing was wrong with this. This Okay, you got it. This is the schema that we have created. I've added that schema. See, let us say I'm not giving drop access. Okay, I'm only giving select access to user hello. So if I only give select access to user hello, he'll only be able to see the data. He'll not be able to drop the table or delete the table from that particular schema. Let me show you that. Okay, now I have assigned TEMPP privilege to him. Now what hello will be able to see? Hello will be able to see the privilege under his schema. Let me refresh this user ID. Okay, this user ID got refreshed. Now let us see the schema, if the schema is added or not. See, the schema is added. And schema will have only the select privilege. So if only under select privilege, okay, table we have created, right? Under this tables. Okay, let us see. Okay, you will be able to view the content of them. You can open the content as a user ID. Hello, you will able to see this is the content that you have. Okay, close this. Try to drop this or delete. Let us try. Let us see if it is giving any warning or not. Okay, it will not allow you to drop the table until you have the sufficient privilege. It will only allow you to view the data in TMPPP. So in order to get him going, in order to give him access to drop the table, what do you need to do? You need to give access for him to drop. Okay, I'll click on execute. So he'll be able to drop any data under the schema. So this is your control center boss basically. So whatever access you want to control, which is related to your object privilege, or be it any privilege that we are going to see in our further sessions, system privilege or analytic privilege, whatever privilege. So the access that you want to restrict for that particular object is controlled under this center. Basically, this is your control center where you control everything related to your object schema. Okay, I'll not extend this session. Okay, I'm going to wrap this session up, but yeah, please stay attentive. Okay, so now I have assigned drop. Okay, drop access, drop privilege to the user. Hello. So now what you're going to do, always refresh it. Once you get the sufficient access, I'm going to refresh this. And now I'm going to try once again to drop the table as user hello. Under tables, there is a TMPPP table. Now try to delete it. Okay. Is it gone or not? It's gone. You are able to successfully delete it. So that is what this drop command does. Okay. It will allow you to drop any kind of data. Now I'm only showing you the table data, guys. Okay. You can drop any data under the schema, basically. You have multiple data. You will be having triggers, you will be having views, okay, you will be having synonyms, sequences, and procedures is another very important topic. In procedures, people are going to use programming. The developers are going to use programming to create multiple procedures. These procedures will be used by the modelers. Okay. So this is a very important topic. So whatever data that you have under this particular schema, user will be able to drop any kind of data from this objects. Okay, always be careful when you are giving drop access to someone or delete access to someone. Okay, both act similarly. Never give access to drop. It's my suggestion. Always give access to select or execute. Select will give you to view the data. Execute will give you access to add any data. Okay, same goes for index also. So if you're not giving index to your table value, like I've created a table and I've added some value there called some temporary entry I've given in the table, but I have not given the index. So if you are not going to give the index, it is going to be very hard. It is going to be very difficult. Whenever you are going to execute the query, it will take a lot of time to search for that particular row. Okay. So always indexing is key in your SQL tables. Okay. Whenever you're creating tables, always you give index. So if you give index, you'll give the access for giving the index to your objects. Okay, I'll tell you that. Drop and alter is same. Okay. drop and alter both are same. You'll be able to do any kind of actions to the object, schema data that you have. Select, insert, update, and delete are all related to your SQL commands. You'll be able to insert. Select means you will be able to view the data. Insert, you can add any kind of data to that particular table that we have created, or you can update it. And delete is the last thing. Delete, you can delete any kind of data in those views, in the table views. Let us say in the table you have the content. You have created one entry. You can delete that entry from the table. So that is what this delete command gives you. Delete command, select, insert, update will give you the data as mentioned here. Okay. Index already, as I said, you can give indexing. So okay, indexing is always a privilege which is very important when you give it. So while giving this index, the index will always be unique. Okay, and it will always help you to fetch the data quickly. Okay, and this index command, this index privilege is only applied to a schema or table and table type. Okay, it is not applied to all the privileges that we are going to see. Index is limited. Okay, you'll not be able to see this index for other than a schema or a table. Execute is again, you'll be able to execute anything in that particular schema that you assign. That is your execute command. Execute command also you can give. You'll be able to add any data into the view by giving execute. You can give execute, no worries.